My stepmom demanded I pay her bills, so I moved out and watched her beg. Hey Reddit, throwaway account here because I'm not ready for my family to find this. 22F. Never imagined I'd be posting in r/relationship_advice, but here I am, kind of lost and looking for clarity. To set the scene, my mom passed away when I was 13. It was sudden, brutal, and the world hasn't felt steady since. My dad remarried within 2 years to Linda, not her real name, who brought her own son, Tyler, now 16, into our house. I always tried to give her a chance, even when it was awkward or when she tried too hard to play perfect mom. It just never really felt like family, you know? Dad started working more hours, sometimes double shifts, after he married Linda. He was barely home, and Linda began to run the household. I'd hear her on the phone, always stressed about money, complaining to her sister or friends. Sometimes I caught her staring at me when she thought I wasn't looking, like I was a puzzle she just couldn't solve. At first, it was little things. She'd ask if I could pay for my own phone bill or chip in for groceries. I was 17, working a part-time job after school, so I didn't think much of it. I wanted to be helpful, to not make waves. But it was always just this once until it became the norm. Looking back, maybe that's when the lines started to blur between what's fair and what's manipulative. But I kept telling myself, she's trying. Maybe I'm overreacting. After all, Dad seemed grateful I was mature about things. And Tyler, well, he got to skate by, never asked to contribute a dime. But as the bills started piling up and the requests turned into demands, I began to wonder, am I being used, or is this what family is supposed to do? I tried to convince myself this was normal. College students help out, right? Still, I started noticing that Linda's asks weren't just for shared stuff anymore. She wanted me to cover her credit card minimums, her car insurance, even a vet bill for her cat, a cat I was allergic to. If I ever hesitated, she'd get icy or make passive-aggressive comments in front of Tyler, like, some people in this house only care about themselves. My dad was no help. When I brought it up, he'd sigh and say, we all have to pitch in. Linda's under a lot of pressure. Then he'd retreat into his room with his laptop, headphones on, escaping. I felt totally alone. One night, Linda cornered me in the kitchen. I'd just gotten my first real paycheck from my new job at the campus library. She smiled, all fake sweet. Honey, could you help me out with my card again? I just need $200 this time, and you know your dad and I are counting on you. Her tone left no room for no. When I said I'd just paid my tuition deposit and couldn't, she slammed the cabinet shut and muttered, wow, must be nice not to have real responsibilities. Tyler looked up from his phone and shrugged, like this was just another episode. That night I couldn't sleep. I started running the numbers, my paychecks, what I'd been giving her, how little was left for me. The unfairness hit me, sharp and cold. But every time I tried to bring it up, Linda found ways to twist it. Crying to my dad about how ungrateful I was, guilt-tripping me with stories about how hard her life had been, or reminding me I should be thankful for all she does. I began to wonder if she'd ever cared about me at all, or if I was just her backup plan. I hated myself for even thinking it, but I couldn't shake the feeling. It got worse the summer I turned 21. Linda lost her job, and the bills started coming in faster than ever. She began intercepting my mail, once even accidentally opening a letter from my bank. I started locking my door, hiding my wallet in my backpack. That's how bad it got. She stopped asking and started expecting. I'd come home to find notes taped to my door. Transfer $150 for groceries. Need $300 for the electric bill by Friday. If I didn't respond, she'd text me screenshots of overdue notices with big red warnings. Once she called me while I was in class, her voice shaky and angry. You know we can't make rent without your help. Do you want us all on the street? Dad was even less present. I overheard him and Linda arguing late at night, her voice raw, his exhausted. But every morning he'd just mumble, try to help your stepmom, okay? Before leaving for work. Not once did he ask how I was managing, if I needed anything, or if I was okay. Even Tyler started echoing Linda's lines. Why can't you just help mom out? You're such a cheapskate. I wanted to scream at him. He never paid for anything, yet somehow I was the selfish one. I began eating meals at my friend Mia's place just to avoid the tension. She noticed how withdrawn I'd become, how anxious. Finally, one night, she asked, why do you look like you're about to cry every time your phone buzzes? I told her everything, all at once. The relief of saying it out loud was almost painful. Mia just listened, then said, "This isn't normal, you know. You don't owe them your future." But I still felt trapped, by guilt, by family duty, by the fear that if I left, I'd be the villain. Until the day Linda crossed a line I couldn't ignore. The day everything changed started like any other. I got home from a long shift and found Linda waiting for me, arms folded, face set. She shoved a bill in my face. It was her credit card, now maxed out. "I need $500. Today," she snapped, not even pretending to be polite. "You get paid this week." "I know you do." My stomach dropped. I barely had $600 left after paying for my textbooks and rent on the tiny room I sublet off campus. "Linda, I can't. I just paid my own bills. I need that money to eat and get to work." She exploded, crying, yelling, accusing me of being heartless. She said, "I took you in after your mom died. I'm the only mother you've got left. How dare you turn your back on your own family?" Dad came out to see what was happening. Linda rounded on him. "See? She doesn't care about us. She's selfish." My dad looked at me, then at her, then just left the room. Not a word in my defense. Not even eye contact. That night, Linda texted me nonstop, pages of guilt, accusations, then begging. Tyler posted some passive-aggressive meme about fake family on his Instagram and tagged me. My phone blew up with DMs from Linda's sister, calling me an ungrateful brat. I realized in that moment, it would never be enough. No matter how much I gave, it would always be my responsibility to fix her messes. No one was coming to save me. If I wanted peace, I'd have to take it for myself. I lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding out of my chest. I knew what I had to do, but the idea of actually leaving, abandoning the only home I'd known since my mom, felt like jumping off a cliff. But staying felt even worse. The next morning, I woke up before anyone else. My hands were shaking as I stuffed clothes and the few things that mattered to me into a duffel bag. I left a note on the kitchen counter. "I can't keep living like this. I need space. Please respect that." I called Mia and asked if I could crash with her. She didn't hesitate. "You're always welcome here. We'll figure it out together," she said. The relief I felt nearly made me cry. Linda bombarded me with calls and texts all day. First, threats. "If you leave, don't bother coming back." Then tears. "I can't believe you'd do this to me after all I've done for you." My dad texted once. "Let's talk when you're calmer." That stung almost as much as Linda's manipulations. Calm. I'd been calm for years, swallowing every demand, every guilt trip. At Mia's, I slept through the night for the first time in months. The silence felt heavy, but in a good way. No one lurking outside my door, no notes taped to my wall, no fights echoing through thin drywall. The first days were awkward. I missed Tyler, despite everything. He was my little brother and even my dad. But I felt lighter. I started focusing on my classes, on my job, and on little things like cooking with Mia or taking long walks just to clear my head. Word got around our family quickly. My aunt texted, saying she was proud of me for standing up for myself. My mom's best friend called to check in, reminding me, "Your mother would have wanted you to be happy, not trapped." For the first time, I started to believe that maybe I wasn't selfish, maybe I was just choosing myself for once. Adjusting wasn't easy. I kept expecting someone, Linda, my dad, even Tyler, to show up at Mia's door, demanding I come home. But no one did. The silence from my dad hurt the most. I checked my phone constantly, hoping for a real apology or even just a "How are you holding up?" But days turned into weeks with nothing but Linda's occasional guilt trip texts, which I eventually blocked. Mia's apartment became my safe haven. She helped me budget, cheered me on as I applied for scholarships, and reminded me to breathe. I started saying yes to more shifts at the library. My coworkers became friends. I joined a study group, and for the first time, I actually enjoyed learning. Some nights, I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering if I was making things harder than they had to be. Then I'd remember Linda's face, the bills, the way my dad refused to look at me, and that old knot of guilt in my stomach would start to loosen. This was my life now, messy, scary, but mine. Tyler messaged me once. "Why'd you leave? Mom says you hate us." I wrote and deleted my reply a dozen times before just saying, "I needed a break. Take care of yourself, Ty." He never answered, but I hoped he understood, even a little. Sometimes, Mia and I would talk about family, how complicated and beautiful and painful it can be. She'd listen, never judging, and remind me, setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's survival. I missed the idea of family. But every day away from that house, I started to realize I was becoming someone new, someone stronger. Months went by. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. I still worried about money. My classes were tough, and sometimes loneliness hit hard. But I was healing. I'd stopped jumping whenever my phone buzzed, and the panic in my chest had faded. Then, out of nowhere, Linda called me. I didn't answer at first, but she kept trying. Finally, curiosity, or maybe just old habits, got the better of me, and I picked up. Her voice was shaky, almost unfamiliar. I need your help, she said, words tumbling over each other. She explained that my dad's hours had been cut, bills were overdue, and Tyler was struggling in school. I know we've had our differences, but I'm desperate. Can you lend us anything? Just for a little while. She sounded smaller than I'd ever heard her, scared, not angry. She even apologized for how things had been. I know I pushed you too hard. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please. I just sat there, stunned. For years, I dreamed of her admitting she'd crossed a line. But now that she was on the phone, crying, all I felt was numb. I heard Tyler's voice in the background, raised and anxious. For the first time, I realized how much chaos I'd left behind. Part of me wanted to rush in and save everyone. But another part, a wiser, quieter voice, reminded me of everything I'd survived and how hard I'd fought to build a life without fear. I'm sorry you're struggling, I said, my voice shaking, but I can't be your solution anymore. I need to look after myself now. Linda cried harder, but I stayed firm. For once, I didn't feel cruel. I just felt free. After that call, I half expected a storm. Linda did text a few more times, sometimes pleading, sometimes angry. My dad sent a short, stilted message. We're going through a tough time. Any chance you can help your family? He never once apologized or even asked how I was doing. Tyler didn't reach out at all. For a while, I felt guilty again. Old habits die hard. But Mia kept reminding me, you already did more than anyone could ask. You're not their lifeline. Still, it hurt. Family was supposed to be about support, not endless demands and manipulation. That week, my aunt, my mom's sister, called. She'd heard from my dad that I'd abandoned them. When I told her the truth, she was furious at them, not me. She offered to let me stay with her if I ever needed to, and told me she'd talk to my dad herself. I didn't want a bigger rift, but I felt relief knowing at least one adult saw me, really saw me. Classes picked up. I got a small scholarship, which meant I didn't have to take as many shifts at work. For the first time, I had a little money that was actually mine. I joined a campus group for students from complicated families. Just hearing other people's stories made me feel less alone. Linda's situation got worse. A mutual friend said she'd been asking other relatives for help, and when no one could step in, she started selling things online. My dad grew distant from everyone, even Tyler, who was acting out at school. It was hard not to feel responsible for their mess. But every time I thought about going back, I remembered the peace I'd found, the ability to breathe, to dream, to just be. There were moments I almost caved. I'd see old photos of Tyler and me, or remember nights watching movies as a family, before everything got twisted. The guilt never fully disappeared, but it started feeling smaller. I realized that the ache I felt wasn't for my stepmom or even my dad. It was for the family I'd always wished I had. I tried reaching out to Tyler one last time, not to fix things, but just to remind him I still cared. I'm always here if you want to talk, I texted. He replied, I miss how things used to be. That hit hard, but I knew I couldn't go back to playing hero. My aunt became my rock, sharing stories about my mom and reassuring me I was making the right choices. Mia celebrated every small win with me, passing a tough exam, finally sleeping through the night, applying for an internship I never thought I'd get. One evening, I ran into Linda at the grocery store. She looked tired, older. For the first time, she didn't seem angry, just weary. She didn't ask for money. She only said, I hope you're okay. We stood there, strangers connected by pain, and I felt something like pity, but also relief. I'd survived. I was finally free from her hold. Back at my apartment, I realized I didn't have to keep punishing myself for leaving. I'd done what I had to do. I could love my family from a distance, without letting them drain me dry. Writing this now, I still feel a mix of grief and gratitude. Losing my mom broke something in me, and for a long time, I tried to patch that hole by being the good daughter, the fixer, the peacemaker, the wallet. It took almost losing myself completely to realize I deserve boundaries, respect, and a chance to build my own life. Things with my dad are still awkward. Sometimes he sends short, impersonal texts, "Hope you're well." He never mentions Linda or the money. I don't push it. Maybe one day we'll talk. Really talk. Maybe not. Tyler's quieter too, but sometimes he'll send a meme or a good luck before my exams. I cling to those tiny, honest connections. As for Linda, she's still struggling. I don't feel vengeful or triumphant, just sad. She built her world on guilt and fear, and now she's watching it crumble. I can't fix that for her. I don't want to. My job now is to heal, to set the kind of example for myself that my mom would have wanted, to live bravely, even when it means saying no. If you're reading this because you're trapped in a family that treats your kindness like an ATM, please know, you're not selfish for wanting peace. Setting boundaries isn't just healthy, it's necessary. You can love people and still choose yourself. I don't have all the answers. I still miss the family I wish I had. But I'm learning that real family, chosen or blood, should lift you up, not weigh you down.